Okay, let's go. Let's go. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for another live show. My goodness, it is hump day yet again, and it is time for us to dive into something that may or may not be influencing you in your life and in your business. But if you are experiencing it, is something that can be such a source of frustration, and that is the relentless chasing of goals in order to feel like you are achieving something. So, everyone here in the Facebook group, Optimize to Thrive, you know who I am. I'm Penny. For those of you on YouTube, LinkedIn, if you're new to me, I'm a board certified hypnotist. I'm a former nurse anesthetist. I spent 25 years in healthcare, and I know all about achieving and chasing goals. And it was a habit I had to break. I had to learn to be comfortable with myself. For the last 4 years, I've worked with high performers, high achievers, entrepreneurs, influencers, CEOs, and sometimes this is something that comes up. So, what is it about this relentless pursuit of achievement? Why do we chase these goals? Is this something that you have experienced yourself? If it's something you've experienced yourself, I would love for you, hi Linda, I would love for you to just comment and let me know that this is something that you've experienced, because I know that when people enter my Facebook group, I poll people on what they experience. And I would say about a third of people in the group experience this goal chasing. Well, there can be several reasons that it happens. And I'm just going to give you some few points of awareness around each, because you know how I feel. Awareness gives us a buffet of choice, because once we're aware of something, we can choose to do something about it, or we can choose to not do something about it. So we get to take that information and use it in a way that supports us in achieving our goals. So the first one I want to talk about is the rush that we get from achieving a goal. Yes, that dopamine rush. We can actually get a high from accomplishing a goal. Now, not everyone gets a high from that. Some people get a dopamine rush from eating sugar. From some people, it's an addictive substance. From other people, it might be riding roller coasters, right? So we have the adrenaline piece, but there's this dopamine piece to it where we just really we're chasing that high. Now, some people will talk about a runner's high, and a runner's high is actually different. When we're engaged in active exercise, it's that endorphin release that gives us the runner's high. So if you're not familiar with the way that dopamine works, it's actually a pleasure chemical. It's a reward chemical. And I recommend that you check out the book Dopamine Nation, because with technology, the way that algorithms work, short form video, it can tap into those pleasure reward centers in the brain. So for some of you, the actual achieving of that goal might give you a dopamine rush. But as I said, for people coming into the group, what they will tend to check off is you're chasing the goal to feel accomplished or to feel like you have achieved something. And that comes from conditioning. That comes from domestication, indoctrination, intended or unintended, that we experience that. And I can give you some examples. And some of these examples you've heard before in related to other things that I talk about that come up for entrepreneurs. And the reason why is everyone's brain is going to interpret things differently. We're all going to put our own meaning on something. That's why you can post an opinion post, or you see where someone on social media has posted an opinion post, or if you follow talk radio or podcast, and people have these very differing opinions, they look at the same set of information, they have a very different perception. It's because we learned long ago to put a different meaning on things. And that meaning that we put on things colors our perception. Okay. So the way this lands is unique to each and every one of you. So if something doesn't feel like, you're like, that doesn't feel right, then maybe it's not, maybe it is something else. One of the things that can lead to this chasing of the next goal is if you were driven as a child, if you were competitive and your parents fostered that competitiveness. It could have been in sports, it could be in music, it could be in art, it could be in dance, it could be in your academics, where when you achieve a goal, right? Now it's like, okay, you've hit this rung on the ladder. Here's the next one. Let's go. And here's the next step. Let's go. And when it's relentless, a couple of things happen. One is it can be habit, which we're going to talk about later. But the other is if the times where you receive the love, affection, and attention that you're craving, or the simple piece to just have fun, this has come up for someone in the past for me. If that only happens once you've achieved that goal, then you can feel like you have to meet that goal to feel like you've done something good enough, worthy enough, valuable enough to enjoy the result of that award, to feel like you have achieved something. You have become good enough that you get the attention you need. I know that when I still worked in Connecticut, I would give anesthesia at a GI center 2-3 days a week. Our anesthesia group covered it. And through like 2012, through the time I left in 2015, we were seeing a continual uptick in teenagers needing to have endoscopies and colonoscopies for severe GI issues. And they were all stress related. Every single one of those kids that I talked to, when I asked them what was happening in their life, their parents were working so hard for them to get into a top tier school that they would get up at 6 a.m, they would study in the morning, they may have to go to swim practice before school started, then they go to school, they go all through their academics, they come home, they grab a snack, and then they're off to baseball. Then in the evening, they may have a meeting, and then at like 8-9 o'clock at night, they're eating dinner, and then they're doing homework till 11-12 o'clock at night. And they're going to sleep, and they're waking up, and they do it all over again. And it's pressure. It's constant pressure. So once that goal is achieved, there might be that moment where you get to enjoy. You know, parents are pressured in their jobs. They want their kids to achieve, right? And this is just one example. There could be 1,000 different examples. But I can totally, with the thousands of hours of sessions I've done, I can totally see these kids being my future generation of clients, because they are in this cycle. They are being conditioned for years on end when the brain is still developing, that you push, 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 you hit your goal. Yes, I've achieved. They may or may not get a reward from that. Before now, here we go, push, 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 achieve. And what happens in the brain is like, my God, I just want to have fun. I want to play. I want to enjoy myself. I want to have pleasure. And it becomes conditioned that maybe that only happens at that time. Maybe the love language of a person, maybe your love language is such that once you've achieved that goal, the type of validation that you receive satisfies your love language, right? So it literally becomes an emotional need. Okay. So it's the conditioning, and that actually leads into my next point, that external validation, right? It became conditioning that this is what we have to do. And then on top of that, our brain puts meaning on it. What do you have to do to be good enough? So what happens is we get into this cycle and we don't give ourselves permission to take a break. We feel guilty when we've achieved a goal. If we're not moving to the next thing, we can actually feel guilty. Just, if you're in the Facebook group or somewhere where you can comment, just give a thumbs up or drop an emoji of any kind in the comments if you can relate to that. And it almost feels awkward if we're not going. It feels awkward if we don't have a goal. And it feels unrealistic to have a goal of allowing our body to rest. If when you started out in business and you were initially growing your business and you reached a point of burnout, then you may be wary of growing your business to 7 figures because you don't want to get into this cycle of moving from one goal to the next and not being able to take your foot off the gas and enjoy the journey. Now, in business, we do have to sprint a little bit. Sometimes we've got to sprint. I'm in a sprint phase in my business right now, but there is a set point, right? There is a moment where it's like, okay, these things are in place. And now I can move into creative mode and not be in this more active action phase. Every business goes through it. But the thing is, do you trust yourself to set a boundary and to hold yourself to those priorities and those boundaries so you don't go back into that place of chasing achievement? When you recognize your worth from the inside out, like if this is something that's coming up for you, if it's even triggering you, then I challenge you to look deeper there. But if this is coming up for you, if it's resonating, that, yeah, in order for me to feel like I had satisfied my parents' expectations, this is what I had to do. If that's resonating, then there are subconscious patterns that can be released and let go of. And once you address those things, the likelihood that they are going to show up later is much less. And if they do show up, they're going to be much less intense. And with your power of awareness, you can recognize it and you can nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. Because we don't want to be having these wide swings in our actions and our mindset and our emotions in business. We want to be as, I don't want to say emotionally detached. That's too extreme of a word. We want to be as neutral as we can emotionally in business as we go through that. So the external validation, if you like outwardly know that if I don't do this, people won't see me. If I don't achieve this, people won't like me. How will I know if I'm doing the right thing if I don't achieve this goal and get feedback from people? Or how will I know I'm good enough unless I score 100 on the test, right? That's something that can come through from grade school, from being a kid, that if we don't meet a certain metric in our business, we make it mean something about us. And this can really ramp up the busyness and the goal chasing in business, is where we tie what it means about us to how our business performs. Yes, your business is going to be a reflection of how you show up, but it's not a reflection of, are you good enough? Are you worthy enough? Are you acceptable enough? It's none of those things. Those thoughts may not have ever even entered your mind. But earlier this week, I was invited into Dr. Shafali's Luminous membership. And one of the other moderators of that membership interviewed me, Susie Lula. And we were talking a little bit about this, the beliefs and the feelings that we have around things, when you get to the layer beneath the layer beneath the layer, there's either an erroneous fear, or somehow we have tied a misperception to our ability to accept ourselves, to believe we're worthy enough, that we're lovable enough, and to trust ourselves. That's the layer beneath the layer beneath the layer. And I mean, I'm going to say 99%. I would have to do math on my clients, but 99% of my clients, it's either an erroneous fear or it is an erroneous belief about oneself that underpins all of these behaviors, because we want to be loved and accepted. Humans are tribal in nature. We want community. We yearn for community. And this sense of safety and acceptance is a part of that. So that's how the external validation comes in. We're looking for the approval of others. And the negative impact of this, oh my gosh, if you were building a business, the negative impact in this is that you can end up building out income streams that you don't love. You can end up overcommitting to clients. Instead of your calendar having 5 or 6 client calls a week, you could have 5 or 6 client calls a day. And then when it's time to be with your family, you have time to eat, and then you're going and you're hiding away because you're mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. And you may say, oh, I would never do that. And maybe you're in a good place that you wouldn't. But believe me, I've worked with multimillionaires who have done exactly that. And they came to the realization that, oh my God, like, what am I doing here? Why am I chasing this validation? This is toxic. It's not helping me. It's leaving me exhausted. And we do the work and we unravel and we peel these things back. And then they get 10, 12, 15 hours a week back. They're doing less, and then they're making more money. They're making more money. I mean, heck, who wouldn't like that? Work less, make more money. Of course, it depends on how you set your business up. But if you're exhausted, you have to look at your patterns of behavior and get around awareness around what is driving that, because you do not have to live with that. You can be consciously aligned in your business. It does not have to be hustle and grind. Do you have to take action? Yes. It really, want to choose my words carefully, because words carry energy and vibration. I really wish for people to know that if you're in this mode where you're going to manifest your business, you can't manifest anything without action when it comes to your business, right? You can manifest doors opening. You can be an energetic vibration for doors opening. My God, I've had so many quantum leaps in the last year, but you still have to show up and take action. You have to connect with people. You have to bring them into your world. You have to have a conversation. You can't sell anyone anything without a conversation of some type. And if you're not putting yourself out there, it's not going to happen. So people who are newer into the space and they're wanting to go to 7 figures, we really have to learn to blend the spiritual identity, the consciousness, with the business identity, and find the way that those align. And you can build and create your business in a way that supports you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, but also financially. It's possible. I've seen too many people do it. It's what I'm doing in my business, and these doors are opening all over the place. But we still have to take action, right? So in terms of habit, if the busyness is just a habit, then we simply put a new habit in its place. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. But as you do that, if you start to get that inner critic, if that self-talk pops up and says, oh, you can't take time off, then that's not a habit. there's something else under there. So you get the gift of being able to reflect and ask yourself, what is it about this that I feel like I can't take the time off? And you might discover that what's underneath the surface isn't an achievement issue. It's not a family issue in terms of conditioning. There might be a money story under there. There might be a money story that people who don't work hard don't deserve to have money. And that's a story for another day. I did a live last week. I did a live. It's in the group. It's on money. I dive into that. I'm not going to dive into it here, but this is what I want to share with you. Next week, I'm hosting the Thrive to Seven Figures workshop. You see the banner at the top of the Facebook group. That workshop will not be live streamed into this group. If you want to join that workshop, unlike my past workshops, you have to go, you have to register, and you have to join a special Facebook group for that workshop. Now, here's the kicker. If you bring a friend, so if you have a friend who signs up with you, no, they can't use your Zoom link. They have to sign up and register and get their own emails and their own access to the group. DM me or hit reply on one of my emails and let me know the name of the person you invited into the group. When you both register, you will both be entered to win a bonus of a 1-hour strategy session with me. That is a $1,000 session that you can have with me, and we can talk mindset, we can talk identity, we can map out your business strategy, we can talk about what misperceptions you may have around what it takes to get to 7 figures. You get to use that hour any way that you see fit. What I will tell you is in that 1-hour strategy session, that is not enough time to open up and deal with some deeper rooted issues. However, we can outline the path for you to work through those deeply rooted issues. So I will I think the link is in the description, but I will also drop the link in the comments if it is not there. So you can join Thrive to Seven Figures. I would love to see you there. Bring a friend. Let's share the message, because I've had conversations this week with people talking about how lonely it is to not have anyone to have deeper conversations with around wealth and being in business, because if people aren't in it, the truth is people just don't they don't understand it. It's interesting being in business, and it's fun, and it can be challenging, and we get to have very creative expressions of ourselves. But when we do need to work through things, it can feel very alone if we don't have someone on the same page who understands that. And to add to that, one of the comments of conversation was that someone was saying that they have not seen that many business coaches who integrate consciousness into their business coaching. Now, I don't classify myself as a business coach. I'm a subconscious expert. However, I do know quite a bit about being in the entrepreneur role and the visionary role of business and putting the pieces in place to grow and scale. So I bring that perspective to my clients when they need that. We have those discussions to open up and unlock new ways of thinking around what is happening. So I'm going to tell you that it can be done. You can merge your spiritual, your consciousness, that identity of who you're being with a successful CEO identity. It can be done. All right. I will see you all. Let's see. Next Wednesday, there will not be a live show. I will put up an announcement next week. There will be no live show next week because I will be running the Thrive to Seven Figures workshop in the same time slot. So I will just put up a replay here in the group next week so that you can enjoy a replay, especially if you're new to the group. Otherwise, join me over at Thrive to Seven Figures. And I look forward to seeing you all. Let's see if anybody commented. We're good here. All right, everyone have a great week. Yes, Terry, absolutely. I think you've been on the receiving end of some of my free bonuses. So yeah, absolutely. This is all right. These weird Facebook notifications. Gotcha. See you guys next week. Bye now.